Okay, we everybody probably has one of these in our industry. It's an MSA, a Master Services Agreement. People get one of these. You know, we obviously every prospect, every client that we deal with and do business with gets one from us. What is an MSA and what is an MSA and why?
Yeah. So Master Services Agreement is something that, again, most managed service providers will require that their clients sign. It is a blanket terms and conditions agreement that has all the legal language in there about the term of the agreement, the termination clauses in the agreement, might have limitations of liability in there, responsibilities of each party, confidentiality. Frankly, all the stuff that nobody likes to look at is generally jammed into the Master Service Agreement. And we actually execute these all the time without really knowing it, even when we accept the terms and conditions of that piece of software you installed that says that now they can use your data for whatever they want.
Roku just rolled one of these out the other day, and they basically said, unless you do this and agree to it, we're turning off the service. You're not going to be able to use our service.
Right.
There was no I decline.
Right.
It's either you agree or you turn the TV off.
Right, you throw the Roku in the garbage.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, frankly, it has to be that way, that blanket agreement is in place. You need to understand the rules of engagement, and they're necessary. The reason to have it as a separate agreement, as a master services agreement, and not part of the proposal, is that means you only have to look at it once. So if you engage with a new provider, you should have to go through the master service agreement once. Maybe you run it by your lawyer. Maybe you're savvy enough to go through it yourself, whatever it is. But once those terms and conditions are in place, now every engagement you do with that provider after that should be subject to that master service.
It's covered by that.
Right, so now you don't have to do that every time. Now, the next time you want a project done, you want to add on services, it's not something you have to look at all the time. It's bundled into that master services agreement.
It's understood at that point.
Yeah. One of the challenges of having the master service agreement cover all the kinds of universe of things that could be done is, for example, if we take on a client that we're just going to do, let's say we're starting with doing an assessment for them. So we're going to go through and do an assessment. It's a project, it's a one-time project, it has a start and an end and a fixed fee. The master service agreement covers all kinds of things we might do for them, and it has rules in there about things like, well, if we're managing your network, the equipment must be at certain standards, right? You can't have Windows 7 machines still on your network because it's too risky. You have to have current supported operating systems, current license agreements, all that kind of thing in there. And the question I get a lot with that is, well, this stuff's not going to apply to me, so why do we need it? Well, the reason we need it is because chances are, if we do an assessment and we do it right and you begin to trust us, we're probably going to do other things for you. We don't want to have to re-execute another master services agreement. So read the language and say, this applies if we're managing the network, right? And if we're not managing the network, it's not going to be a challenge for that project. Right? But then if we do start to manage the network at some point, then
The terms and conditions are covered.
They're covered, they're in there, they're done, we don't have to do it
They're
again. We
agreed
can
to.
just talk about securing your company, getting you great support, keeping you operational, reducing your risk.